then they sent me to radar school. Radar was brand new in the B-29 back in those days. And they sent me to radar school, so I was the radar navigator on board, but we also had a separate navigator. It turned out that my job was very, very easy because the navigator was responsible for the position of that airplane at all times, and I just kind of helped him out. The radar, all I could see if we were going over water was all black. But if we would see an island or something out there, a piece of land, then that was white. So I would help them out on occasion, going by Iwo Jima on the way to Japan, and tell them, oh, there it is, it's just off to our right, you know. And that was the extent of my work until we got to Japan. And then I would help the bombardier with the dropping of the bombs by giving him distance away from the target, and he would set his bomb sight for the distance reading I was giving him. And as far as the direction this way or this way over the target, I had a little knob that was tied in with the automatic pilot, and I could turn that little knob to go to the right, or turn it, we go to the left. So if we started drifting off the target, I was directing the plane into the target. Anyway, that's a little bit about my job, but coming here tonight, I notified several of our crew members who are still living, and I'm in touch with them on the computer, and asked them to send me some comments. So I have a few comments if you're interested. I'd like to tell you about. Bill, the first one is from Lauren Bonneau. Lauren Bonneau was our radio operator. And he's a
professor, college professor.
He turned out to be a college professor. He's from Lincoln, Nebraska, right? Bill was Lincoln, yeah. He said, I put together the following comments that you can share for Bill's birthday. My favorite memory of being with you, Robert, that's me, and Ken is a co-pilot, is of playing bridge night after night. We played a lot of bridge. I never played cards in my life until I met Bill. And he taught me how to play bridge. And I've enjoyed that all my life too, although in recent years I haven't played too much because the gang kind of
They died. They all died.
I guess that happened. I recall when you asked if any of the EMs on the crew, that's enlisted men on our crew, played bridge. The enlisted men, of course, lived separately. We were all officers, you know, we were big shots. And I quickly said that I did, and I was invited to your quarters that very night. I didn't know there was a difference between auction and contract bridge, but I soon learned. You and Bob, who I believe had played in a former life for master tournaments, that was you did that, said that we'd play for a tenth of a cent a point. Luckily, or not so luckily, Ken and I won. We were then told that from then on, the stakes were to be 1/5 of a cent per point. This made us play carefully, and we had many great evenings. Thanks for letting a lowly staff sergeant invade your home. One other memorable occasion occurred after the typhoon we encountered. Saul Dubin and I went over to see the waves coming in at the enlisted men's swimming area. We were 20 feet, maybe 40 feet above the ocean, and wave after wave would spray us lightly with salt water. Suddenly, I noticed a huge wave coming in, and I yelled, "Hang on, Saul." I grabbed onto the coral with both hands, and the wave hit with great force, but I held firm. As the waters receded, I looked for Saul and couldn't see him. But soon the water poured out of the basins, and Saul was in one of the basins. He said his coral rock broke, and he was swirling around in a pocket. He was cut all over, and trip to the hospital and 108 stitches.
Oh, my.
Later, for his cuts. I brought him back to the Quonset hut. I think you knew about this story, even though you were not directly involved, Bill. I don't remember that. Do you remember that, Bill?
Sort of.
Yeah, I don't remember that. But even though I am not able to be present for your 90th birthday celebration, Janet and I would like to send our greetings. Enjoy your family and friends and have a great year. That was Lauren Bonneau's comments.
Thank you.
I have more.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
More.
Keep going.
We got Rose.
This is from Rose. This is Ken Wise was a co-pilot, and this is from his wife. It's actually his second wife. His first wife passed away, and he remarried. So Rose, I contacted them, and she came back with this response. I wish Ken could answer your email himself, but is no longer able to do so. He was diagnosed 18 months ago with Alzheimer's. While he is still functioning quite normally, he no longer uses a computer and is curtailed in other areas. His strong driving skills are still in place. His hearing is bad, and when he has trouble following plot lines on TV, but for the most part, he's doing well. As to his memories, as I asked each one of them to send me some, I will try and relate several that have been told to me. One time, and I think all of the crew were aware of this, the plane was flying with everyone on board asleep. Now, we were
I think those guys got fired. Those guys got fired though.
Well, these missions to Japan were 14 hours long. We would leave late in the afternoon with a full bomb load. And
Early evening.
yeah, late in the afternoon, early evening.
Early evening, because we'd see the other guys
Coming
at
back.
the movies.
Yeah. Well, we would travel up there, take us 7 hours back. We get back early in the morning.
Around
So
9
it's
o'clock.
all night long. So not too unusual that somebody might fall asleep, you know.
Okay.
But anyway, I think I was the one that discovered everybody asleep. My position was way in the back of the plane. That's where the radar was located.
I sort of remember this one.
You remember?
I think so.
I called around to see what was going on in the plane. I couldn't get an answer from anybody. But anyway, she is telling back the story now. This is Ken's wife, and Ken and Bill, she says, alternated on those long flights of taking turns sleeping 1 hour on and 1 hour off. Ken had his turn and turned the plane over to Bill.
I think Bill remembers it the other way around. The television must have been on.
It's on automatic pilot all this time.
Yes, we understand.
Ken fell asleep, believing that Bill had taken over. He woke up and realized Bill was asleep, and the plane had been on automatic pilot, and all on board were asleep. This may not have been serious, but Ken took it so, and never slept on board after that. I don't know about that, but anyway, I think all of the crew were aware when this happened, just as they were with the buckle incident, which I will leave for others to relate.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you about that one now. Go ahead. Our parachutes had a great big buckle on them. You know, there's a big thing this big around and this thick, and it was kind of heavy. And that was where all of the straps plugged in. The strap would go around your leg and plug in the
Right
straps.
on your belly.
Yeah, and the straps around your shoulders and arms and everything. All would click into this big metal block with the slots in it, see? So we were coming in for a landing. This was in training. We were now in Alamogordo. Yeah, I think so.
No, this was over there, and we were coming back from a mission.
Is that right?
All
right, well, that's, anyway.
It was, and there was someone that were reviewing us as a crew.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're coming in for a landing, and we're making a pretty steep approach, as I recall at the time, and Bill was trying to pull back on the stick, and it wouldn't come back. And while we're coming down like this, we're getting near the runway. And fortunately, our navigator, Jack Breskin, he was standing up in front. It had a big, if you've ever seen a B-29, had a big opening up there in the front where you could kind of stand around. Not a huge space, but you could stand. And he happened to be standing in front of the controls, and he looked down, and he saw that buckle down below the floor level, blocking
in the pocket where
a little pocket
where the stick moved back and forth.
There was a pocket there that they didn't protect. You know, wasn't protected by a softer material or something. You know, and so he was trying to get the stick back, and it wasn't coming back because that block of metal was down behind it. So Jack Breskin spotted it because he was standing up there in the front. And he reached down and he yanked it out of there.
Great.
And we bounced in a little bit, but we didn't crash.
Yay!
We hit the nose wheel first.
Yeah, nose wheel first.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not good.
So, what was I
that's
going to say
good.
about that?
That's good, but I'm just saying.
Not supposed to go
I had
that
another
way.
comment to make there, but I forget what it was. But anyway, that's, we've got down to that spot here. Ken always trusted Bill's piloting skills, and I want to tell you, I did too. He was a great pilot. Not only from the standpoint that he could operate that airplane, but he had a very even temperament. And that really came in handy, you know. And just to give you an example of that one, we were in the barracks one night, and our bombardier was, we were all issued a .45 pistol, and our bombardier is in, we had a kind of a three-room affair there, and he was in one of the rooms, and I don't know what he was doing. He was fooling around with his .45 pistol, and all of a sudden it went off. Well, I want to tell you, if you've ever heard one of those things go off in an enclosed area, it was like a bomb, you know. Bill was in the one of the other rooms there, playing bridge. Well, the shot goes off, and there's silence. Nobody says anything, you know. And all of a sudden we hear Bill pipe up. Let's be a little more careful in there. He didn't hear a body fall onto the floor. Oh, boy. All right, wait a minute now. Okay, she said, here's what she says. I don't know what caused the plane to drop suddenly when in flight, but Ken remembers this quite well. Flying into downdrafts or updrafts, and the plane plunging for several feet. I think it caused a loud noise like a sonic boom or something like that. She has a couple of stories together there. We were coming back from Japan one night, and I get a call from Bill, and he said, "You see that thunderhead up ahead?" I could see it on the computer, on the radar screen. I could see this white mass up ahead. It was a big thunderhead, and if you ever got into one of those things in a plane, you could get thrown around. So it might even rip the wings off, depending on how strong the winds were in there. So Bill called back to me, and he said, "You see that thunderhead up ahead?" I said, "Yes, I see it." He says, "Will you direct from plane around that?" So, okay, so I took the little knob, and I turned the plane, and off we went around. And, no, had no problem with that one, Bill. There was something else about that story, though, I wanted to say.
I don't know, is it when the lightning hit, no, that's another one, when the
Oh,
lightning hit.
yes, no, that was the night, that was the time we had the blue flame started all over the
St. Elmo's fire?
St. Elmo's fire.
Yeah.
And that scared the heck out of all of us, you know, because
And we had to, off the nose of the plane, we were having build-ups
Yep,
of
was all over.
electricity, and all of a sudden they hit and
yeah.
discharged to the left wing.
Yes, that's right. It discharged off one part of the plane onto another in a huge explosion. You know, we thought, oh, we were going that night. But it didn't do any harm at all. It just discharged off onto another part of the plane and didn't do any damage or anything.
Wow.
But there was a very loud noise, and over the engines too. You know, it was considerable.
This particular flight, I think, was, we had been prepared for the storm. It was a front coming in from the west, and we were to fly up the front end of it, out of the storm, and then come back behind the front and miss this weather, but we didn't miss all of it on the way back. We didn't miss
Well,
all
she
of it.
goes on to tell another little bit of a story here. She said, I think that caused a loud noise and a sonic boom or something and frightened everyone, and it sure did. But I think the way you had to get from one end of the plane to the other by crawling through a tube is quite funny. And what that was about was, if you've never seen a B-29 or know about it at all, there was to get from the front of the plane to the back, there was a tube about a couple of feet diameter, and it would go over the bomb bays, and it went from the front of the plane to the back of the plane. If you want to get to one end or the other, you had to crawl through. When you were in flight, you had to crawl through that tube. So Ken said Bill had hollered out, someone hasn't. Oh yeah, this is the rule that the first one to use the urine pot had to take it off and clean it. She said that was funny. Well, that was the story. Of course, being in the air for 14 hours, and there was no bathroom on board or anything, you know, so they furnished us with a little pot. And whoever used that pot first was in charge of it then. And had to clean it. So first,
Everybody knows.
nobody wanted to be first.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Everyone hold it out as long as possible, so they would not be the first and have to empty the pot. Bill taught Ken how to play bridge, and he and Bill were partners playing bridge for many hours in their leisure time. Ken has a special feeling for Bill, and it comes from the heart. One thing you must be proud of is how you located all the crew and got them together. Well, now she's talking about me. Well, I did some years back.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Bob, tell me about the time that you were taking off. Planes are going to take off every so much.
Yeah, I'm going to tell that one in a minute.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me, because I didn't know what I told her about. But I did several years ago. I got a computer, and I heard that, oh, geez, you can look it up in the computer. You can find people around the country and all that. You know, I started fooling around with that, and sure enough, I found several members of the crew, and with their telephone numbers and everything, you know. And I remember calling up Ken Wise. Now, I hadn't been in touch with him for 50 years. And I called him up, and sure enough, It was Ken, and I had to leave a message, but nobody answered the phone, but he called me back a little while later, and I spoke with him for the first time in about 50 years. And I said, you know, we're gonna have a little, I'm gonna try and put a gathering together for the crew, whoever I can find, you know. I was able to do that. I found one of our scanners up in Buffalo. I found, well, I found Ken, of course, I tell you. Now I found,
And the navigator.
yeah, Jack Prescott, our navigator, and our central fire control. What was it? I can't remember his name. Central fire control.
We didn't lose our volunteer and our
Yeah, engineer.
flight engineer.
Flight engineer, yeah, jail gunner.
And jail gunner.
Well, anyway, I found several of them and invited them to my home, and we had a kind of a reunion. There was, I think, 5 of us at that first one. And a couple years later, we had a second one where we found 6 of us, I think, maybe 7. And we met up at the New England Air Museum, where they have a B-29 on a display up here. And it's almost like a brand new airplane. And several years ago, Bill came up and we got him on board. We got him.
John and
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
and
We got him sitting in the pilot seat, like the old days. Incredible. The story about...
The plane was taking off and somebody's screaming and yelling.
Yeah, we got time for another one.
Yeah, we got time. Yeah.
that was when we were in training.
No. The one I'm talking about, the one we had a full bomb load taken off from Tinian.
Oh, and one of the
Gas cap.
tanks were
Yeah, the gas cap.
It was,
We're heading down the runway. They prided themselves on being able to